fish language. Don Persh. The kid can stay, but... You gotta remember that.
I remember.
The kid can stay, but... Fly me out of here? Thought you'd finish the sentence for me. You don't do very good on a guide trip. I pounded...
Sand.
Sand. I pounded sand. Okay. Al Linder, come on up. Al's going to close for us tonight. Thanks all for coming. And he's going to say that at the end, I'm sure. But there's going to be time to stand around and chat afterwards. Like I said, we've got 2-3 hours to sit and shoot the breeze. But I bet you know who this is, Al Linder. Thank you.
I'll just take a quick moment to thank Dan for all of the work and effort and the heart to organize this whole group. You know, through this winter, and well, actually through the spring, as I got copies of all of the emails that all of you had sent, and Dan was actually the point person for all of us. You know, and every time I would read something, I would get to thinking back about it, and it would kind of plant a seed with me. And when I tried to come up with one word that would describe tonight's event, I guess it would be wow. That's the only word that I could put behind it, wow. The odds of all of us collectively being here today are astronomical, if you stop and think about it. The gift of life and how we've channeled our energies and done different things in different walks of life, what we do for a living. People are here from all over the country. We all do different things, but we all have a tie back to Camp Fish. And when I think about that, Ron and I have been fortunate enough to do a lot of different things, making a living in the sport fishing industry. But I know and have never seen anything that we've ever been involved in that has such a personal impact on people like I've seen it here through the camp. You know, when I travel different places and go to sport shows and seminars, and this is actually in a number of places all over the Midwest throughout the winter, there's no place that I go that I don't hear somebody that had been involved in some way, shape, or form with Camp Fish. I've never had anything like that. The in-fisherman was a big thing. It took 25 years of our life. But I never hear about it as much as I hear about Camp Fish. This is an amazing thing. An amazing thing that our lives, everyone in here, has been touched in some way, shape, or form by that camp. I don't think that was by accident, by a long shot. When I was sitting listening to Al give a little brief history on how he had a vision and to start a youth camp. Well, I mean, the seed was planted in his heart, and he gave about 8 years roughly of their best. What numbers of people involved in this room today? Committed 8 years of hard work. And then one day, him and Steve Lund had given In-Fisherman and I a call at In-Fisherman, and at that point in time, In-Fisherman was 8 years old. And this 8 figure has something to it. We were 8 years old, and In-Fisherman was growing and fairly successful at that time, really on a roll. Everything was starting to take place. And they said, you know, you guys are really involved in the fishing industry. You're tuned into the pulse of what is happening in the world of fishing. And at that time, it was starting to be the boom years in the sport fishing industry. Things were really, really growing. And he says, this is what Camp Fish was about. This was the image. Do you think maybe you guys can get involved? We can't quite get the oomph behind it to get it off the ground. Maybe with the contacts that you have, you know, you could help take it to the next level. We ran with it as hard as we could. So Ron and I and Marion Dolores and had spent some time talking about it, and we all felt led, yeah, we'll do this. So we got involved at that point in time. Did the same thing for 8 years. Put together a ton of energy behind it to get it off the ground. And during that period of time, I can tell you from a personal note, it was 8 years of a really exciting experience for me. Again, the lives that were changed and impacted by it were incredible to me. And I still hear about it today, constantly. And when I came in here tonight and I'm just listening to testimony after testimony after testimony, I'm just thinking again, the only word that comes to mind is wow. It is an amazing thing. It's something that we'll never forget. Every single one of us. I mean, I see guys and gals in here bouncing their head back and forth like this, yeah. I mean, there was something, a very powerful thing that happened at that camp. In many, many ways, to impact people like that, just to get us here tonight for an event like this. Last 3 days this week, it was kind of interesting. Rich Eckholm and I were out on a film shoot. And I asked him, you're gonna make it to Camp Fish reunion? And he says, Gayleen wouldn't miss it. And you talked about all of the experiences we had. They met because of Camp Fish on Long and May Lake. And I remember I was thinking back to the first time that I met Rich. And we had heard something happen at camp. We were in something during a TV time. We were doing a bunch of editing and scrambling on some TV stuff. And somebody said something about this guy, Rich, at camp. He studied something at school about something about TV. Does the guy know something about television? We come up there and say, hey, you got to drive down to Brainerd a little bit and help us go through this stuff and do some work with us on this. That's, what, 20-something years ago, Rich? He never went back. He kept coming to Brainerd and coming to Brainerd and coming to Brainerd. And we're still working together. But again, the lives and how our lives have been touched in so many different ways because of Camp Fish is just an amazing thing to me. Not only emotionally, yeah, you know, and I had a touch of emotion when I was sitting here listening to everybody, and I was just thinking about you two met each other, got married, and met each other on the shores of the lake. The impacts of everybody, and I'm just looking at faces of people that I know here, and some of the stories behind your life, and how Camp Fish was a string, you know, through all of this. And I know Ron, more so than me, had a hard time with the closing of Camp Fish. And not that I didn't have a hard time with it, you know, it was near and dear to me, but, you know, being in business all my life, there's some things when you give it all you got, there comes a time that you just got to say, we got to close it. And it was interesting to me when I came in here. Sue had an original letter that we had sent on the closing of Camp Fish. I was astounded when she showed it to me. I'm going to take a moment and read it to y'all. And this was dated September 23rd, 1991. It says, decisions are never easy, especially hard ones in which you are emotionally involved with, and something, and I don't have my glasses, by the way, so I'm really distracted. Put as much time and effort into it. But facts are facts and must be squarely faced. After exploring all of the possibilities, and then some, the board of directors, Jeff Zernoff, Wally Hilgenberg, and myself, as well as a team of advisors, which included such financial people as Rich Forst and Dave Lauer, Rich is here tonight with us, and it has been decided to close Camp Fish as of October 1st, 1991. Rich has reworked the 91-92 finances from a realistic point of view, and if everything would work, it would fit without a hitch. But the very best we could expect is a little over break even. However, if any one small part goes wrong, we're left holding the bag for big money again. After my meeting in the cities on the 11th of September, the advisory group feels that the risk factor and the consequent chance of missing the goals is simply too great. All of us have tried, but simply cannot put this thing together. We think that it is time to pull the plug. Also, Ron and I personally are liable for a lot of the Camp Fish debt, and with the current economic situation, we simply cannot carry the risk anymore. Naturally, there is a lot to be done as soon as possible. Camp has to be closed down and everything liquidated so we can pay off as much of the existing debt as possible. I'll be talking to each of you personally in order to see how we can help each one of you through this obviously very difficult transition. Al Later. That was a hard one to write, and I was astounded that she had that original copy when she came in with this. I remember sitting down with each one of you individually when we had talked. And it was a hard thing because you were emotionally involved in this thing. And there was something there, but at the same time, I know in my heart that camp was there for a purpose. Every one of us in this room served a purpose. This was not a coincidence. It wasn't an accident that our lives got touched in this way. The final story, when it's all said and done, we'll know sometime. We'll know sometime, but it was not a coincidence. And I can tell you, I'm speaking on behalf of Ron and myself, Mary and Dolores, that we're quite proud and thankful for an opportunity that we had to play a part in Camp Fish, the lives that it touched, just the opportunity to be here this evening. When I look through it, all of this memorabilia around here, it's a night of joy. It's fun. It's exciting. It's just fun to relive these things, to bring, these are all good memories. Tonight we're going to leave here with good memories. Hopefully we'll all be back here 5 years from now. Is that the target goal? With a few more bodies that we will take the time to hunt down and find. And then we all keep that in the back of our minds. So the gift of life as we travel around doing the things we do, we're going to find some more of these people. We're going to find them. Again, I just thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'm looking forward to the evening, the fellowship, just to share some more time together. There's a few people here that I specifically got some questions for that I'm looking forward to chatting with. Again, God bless, and just want to thank you. Ron, you got something you want to say? Come on up. Come on up. There you go.
The camp had 2 levels. The normal, taking out the little campers, we did this. But we closed down after Labor Day. And we always had a couple of events. We had what they called the Fishers of Men. We had jamborees, where we would do fundraisers for the industry to help mitigate or try to help mitigate some of the costs. So when a lot of times, a lot of the fellows and staff went back, some of the regular staff stayed with us, and we went into September and October. We had other groups coming up, specialty groups. And one of them was a jamboree, and let me tell you about everybody knows where Jeff Arnold and Reed's is in town here. Raise your hand if you're acquainted. Okay, raise your hand if you know where Jeff is. All right. One particular jamboree we had, as special guests, we had Bill Dance,